These are the final two videos based on the Bojinka reports. This is going to concentrate on the interrogation of Ramzi Yousef by the FBI. Um, and this is 12 pages, but we're going to cut it into 6 pages each. And this will make up for the final two episodes on this chapter. And it's a really interesting read because it shows the mindset of what went into the Bojinka plot itself. At approximately 10:37 a.m. on February 7, 1995, Ramzi Ahmed Yousef, shortly after being arrested by Pakistani military officials, was interviewed by Special Agent Bradley J. Garrett and Special Agent in Charge Ralph Horton, Legat Bangkok, at a military station in Islamabad, Pakistan. Because of exigent circumstances surrounding the possibility of activated explosive devices, Yousef was asked if there was any explosive devices at his residence or in the Islamabad area. Yousef advised that there is explosive material at the residence where he was arrested. He stated that cellulose nitrate was at his residence in the form of cotton, as well as other timing devices. Yousef stated that the cellulose nitrate is soaked into the cotton and is activated by a heat source. And you'll understand that this is a lot more different than Al Qaeda styled attacks, whereas Al Qaeda is used to C4 and other very guerrilla type means. With Ramzi Yousef and with Abdul Hakim Murad and with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, basically interpreted as bombs. Now, this was the original exercise of Al Qaeda in Afghanistan in 1988 to 1991, was that they weren't a terrorist organization. They were initially set up as originally a training base for Afghans to fight against the communists in Afghanistan. It wasn't until later on where the Egyptians came in, like Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, Abu Ubaidah al-Banshiri, or Mahmoud Salim, and Dr. Saeed al-Fadl, Saeed al-Sharif, Dr. Fadl, where they implemented the idea of a jihad outside of the near enemy. The near enemy to them was the Arab governments, secular Arab governments. The far enemy, which is what the Egyptian Islamic Jihad led by Muhammad ibn al-Faraj wrote in The Neglected Duty. He wrote that there are two enemies. There is the near enemy and the far enemy. The near enemy is the secular Arab governments. The far enemy is the United States and Israel. Once the Islamists get situated in Arab governments and take over, then they can fight as a caliphate against, the powers of the United States coalition partners led by, with Israel. But you could see that the mannerism, the style of attacks have changed. And we're not going to see any more grand attacks that bin Laden liked because that put his name in the paper. Al Qaeda is now more underground. Whereas remember in La Cosa Nostra, where it was underground, and then people like Joe Gallo, John Gotti put their names out there and brought the mafia down. Along with it, La Cosa Nostra hasn't gone away. It's now more underground. Things have changed. The style of attacks have changed. The way they do business. Well, Al Qaeda is now working at the service of with the Taliban as a part of the Afghanistan government, but they're also not public. And this is due to the fact that they learned their mistakes under bin Laden, where bin Laden wasn't afraid to go against the first world powers of the United States and the West, but he also was more out there, which leads me to believe, why couldn't we have captured him? Instead, we killed him. Was it because he might say something that's a little bit different? I don't know. We might say that who funded him originally? Yousef stated that the cellulose nitrate is soaked into cotton and is activated by a heat source. The timers as well as the cellulose nitrate are not activated, according to Yousef. Yousef also advised that there are no other explosives stored in the Islamabad area, and he stated, I do not keep an inventory. Yousef stated that the explosives at his residence are stored in a blue bag. Also, there is a toy in the blue bag wrapped in the explosive cotton. Yousef was asked what his name is, and he stated, I have many, but he stated he is presently using Ali Baluch, date of birth, February 15, 1966. Yousef was asked if he is Ramzi Ahmed Yousef, and he stated that he was. Yousef and stated that the individual in the FBI wanted flyer is in fact him. Yousef was provided an IO 5200, and he stated that that was him in the photograph. Yousef was fingerprinted by Special Agent Garrett at the military station with a preliminary indication that his prints match Yousef. Yousef stated that his real name is Abdul Basit, date of birth April 27, 1968. That he was born in Kuwait. Yousef had in his possession a Pakistani passport. Now, are we for sure that he was born in Kuwait? That his real name is Abdul Basit Karim? Or is it Ali Baluch? Or is it Ramzi Yousef? Ramzi Ahmed Yousef? But like he said, he has many. And this leads me to believe that at some point, he was an independent contractor hired by the intelligence services. Now, it's not me making up a conspiracy theory. You'll know very well I don't like saying things without providing evidence for them. But there was a Guardian article a while back that stated that there was rumor that Yousef was hired by the intelligence services in Europe. For what reason, I don't know. But when you look at these nefarious names, and you'll notice that, with Ramzi Yousef or with Ahmed Ajaj or Osama bin Laden or Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, at some point, these people were either indirectly or directly supported by the intelligence services, domestic or Europe, or in the Middle East, or Southeast Asia. At some point, you'll notice the shadow of the intelligence services are right in the shape of these known terrorist operatives. Even Ziad Jarrah, the alleged hijacker of Flight 93 that crashed in Shanksville, I think he was stopped in Lebanon, or where is it? I forgot what country he was stopped in. After he traveled from Afghanistan, he went to another country. And I don't know, I forgot, don't hold me to this, but he went to another country and they called the CIA because he was heading to the United States. And the CIA told them, let him through, even though in his possession was material that on his passport where he was coming from Afghanistan, which is a known terrorist training hotspot. This is the year 2000. How does the CIA know about Ziad Jarrah? I don't know. Yousef was verbally advised of his rights by Special Agent Garrett, and then Special Agent Garrett wrote out in longhand his rights and read them to Yousef. Yousef advised that he understood his rights, does not want an attorney, and will voluntarily talk with Garrett. Now, you notice that Yousef didn't need to be tortured, that he was willing to talk. With the 9/11 masterminds, they had to be tortured to get them to talk. Now, like I said before, even if they were telling the truth, how can you believe them? And here's Yousef willing to talk with the FBI. Yousef signed a handwritten statement acknowledging he understood his rights. Yousef was asked if there was any explosive devices in Manila, in the Philippines, that he was responsible for, and he stated that several materials used to make explosives were received in Manila. Yousef stated that the materials in Manila were sulfuric acid, nitric acid, acetone, and cellulose nitrate in the cotton form as previously discussed. Yousef declined to discuss why this material was in Manila. Yousef was asked if he committed the World Trade Center bombing, and he stated, I masterminded the explosion. Yousef stated he purchased the materials to build a bomb from City Chemicals in Jersey City, New Jersey, which is true. from a salesman by the first name of Peter. Yousef stated that the telephone number for City Chemicals is 1-800-CIT-CHEM. Yousef stated that he stored the materials in lockers at the space station not further described, which was in the New Jersey, New York area. Yousef stated that the World Trade Center bombing cost less than $20,000. In which the reason why, if he had more money, like he said, there's that story where the FBI is bringing him back to face justice in the Southern District of New York. And it's alleged that one of the agents said, look, the towers are still standing. And Yousef is allegedly to have said, if I had more money, they wouldn't have been. And if he only got $20,000, I would say that, this was a miscalculation on his part, which a lot of it doesn't make sense, this bombing. Yousef declined to state who provided the money, but he stated the money partly came from friends in Pakistan. He advised that the friends did not necessarily know the real use of the money, but was considered a loan. Yousef stated that because of a lack of funds, the World Trade Center was not as successful as he desired. Yousef stated he was hoping for 250,000 casualties, but could not obtain the funds to complete the bomb to his satisfaction because what he wanted was the North Tower to knock into the South Tower and both of the towers to land in Lower Manhattan, killing that many. Yousef stated that the vehicle used to carry the bomb into the World Trade Center was a rental, and he knew this would cause problems as far as tracing those involved in the bombing. However, because of a lack of funds, a rental vehicle was used instead of purchasing a vehicle. Yousef desired to purchase a vehicle because of his concerns about tracing the vehicle. Yousef stated that the bomb was placed in the right location in the World Trade Center, but stated that the bomb would have been different if more funds were available. Yousef declined to discuss others involved in the World Trade Center bombing, other than stating he was not directed by anyone or any group. Yousef stated he came to the United States in September of '92 to obtain an American passport and look for targets. Now remember, a lot of people don't notice, is that there was an Egyptian radical named El Sayed Nosser, who actually told an FBI informant named Imad Salem that he wanted to use smaller bombs in Jewish neighborhoods, the Jacob Javits Center, the Washington Bridge. And this was the first alleged landmarks plot. Later on, there was another landmarks plot that was supposed to be the follow-up to the World Trade Center. But the idea of using bombs in New York City residential neighborhoods didn't come from Yousef or Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. It came from El Sayed Nosser. Yousef advised that he wanted an American passport so he could freely travel in and out the United States. He stated that targets are possible bombing cities in the U.S. and states that he looked at potential bombing targets in New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and New Jersey. His goal was to select the bombing site and then return to Pakistan to recruit funds for the bombing operation. Yousef stated he did not select the World Trade Center until arriving in the United States in September of 1993. He stated that bombing the World Trade Center would be more effective in convincing the United States that they must change their policy regarding Israel. And you'll notice that with most Islamic extremist attacks, it's not based on religion or their interpretation of religion, based on U.S. foreign policy, U.S.-Israel foreign policy. And it's like, like I say to you before, they're telling you a message. And I'm not condoning what Yousef did or bin Laden or any other terrorist, but you have to understand why they're attacking us. Maybe we could correct the issue. Yousef stated the reason for the bombings was because of the U.S. military, financial, and political support of Israel. Yousef talked at length about Israel being an illegal state and that Israel is committing criminal acts against Muslims. Sound familiar? Now, this is 1995. 30 years later, we're still having this discussion. You'll notice that the Islamists are stating similar things. Why are they attacking U.S. interests abroad, and why are they attacking the United States? Israel. Not Spain, not Germany, not France, Israel. Yousef stated that the American people would need to convince Washington of changing Israeli policy and that this would happen by bombing various locations in the United States. Yousef stated the bombings would continue in the United States, but declined to discuss further. Yousef stated he was most affected by a BBC report where Israeli soldiers broke the hand of a Palestinian using Iraq. That still happens today. Yousef advised that most Muslims believe the United States should be punished because of their Israeli policy, but do not have the money or the organization to carry out bombings. Yousef stated he had no personal agenda with the United States, only the U.S.-Israeli policy. Now, look, you think it's bad then, it's much worse now. With Israel conducting basically a mass genocide in Gaza City, in Gaza, what's happening in Syria, what's happening in Lebanon, the reverberation, blowback that the United States is going to get will be worse than 9/11. It's only a matter of time. The style of terrorist attack will be different. It won't be a grand attack. Now, I just did a podcast episode with Sarah Adams and Guido, which is an anonymous name to protect the guy's identity because he infiltrated an Al Qaeda affiliate in North Africa and basically got intel about a plan by Al Qaeda and their affiliates to join with other Islamist groups in attacking the United States using multiple units inside the United States to conduct guerrilla-themed attack in populated areas. This would be much worse than 9/11 because it would paralyze the country. And it would cause the American people to become confused and violent. And this would bring in about the National Guard and whatnot. It would cause chaos as well as economic damage. Yousef stated he was born in Kuwait and lived there for 20 years until the Iraqi war, where his family moved to Pakistan. Yousef stated his family was originally from Pakistan. He attended high school in Kuwait and from 1986 to 1989 attended the West Glamorgan Institute of Higher Learning in the United Kingdom. Yousef stated he earned a higher national diploma in electronics and the course was called Computer-Aided Electronics. In 1989, he returned to Kuwait and worked as a communications engineer at the National Computer Center for the Ministry of Planning. After Iraq invaded Kuwait in August of 1990, Yousef then moved to Pakistan. Yousef stated his first language is Arabic, but also speaks Baluch as well as English. After moving to Pakistan, Yousef stated he went to various training camps in Afghanistan for a period of 6 months. Yousef described these camps as a place Arabs can get their training in explosives, defensive tactics, weapons use, etc. Yousef stated that each camp specializes in one area, for example, explosives. These camps were located at various sites in Afghanistan, but Yousef declined to provide their locations or specific information about their funding or manpower. Yousef did state that 55 people were in his 6-month training course and that a class prior to his had 40 people. In 1991, Yousef stated he graduated from the camps and spent 6 months in Afghanistan practicing his new skills. Yousef stated he was not fighting for a cause in Afghanistan, but only practicing explosives, weaponry, etc. And that's like I said before. The training was based for Afghans to fight against the communists in Afghanistan, but Yousef had other ideas. Yousef stated he learned specifically how to build bombs. As you can see, there's a page missing. So we'll just have to, I guess, deal with it, right? Easier today than before. The reason for this is that instructional material is more readily available today. Yousef stated that he read the chemical dictionary 10 times and found it very useful in building explosive devices. I'm sorry, this is actually, there is no page missing. It's just that I cut off the bottom part of it too early. Yousef stated that after training in Afghanistan, he returned to Pakistan and continued to read about bomb building. He also experimented with building and detonating bombs to become more proficient. In January, February of 1991, Yousef stated that he was married in Pakistan but declined to discuss his wife's name or her location. Yousef also stated he built poisonous and chemical bombs but declined to provide details. Yousef stated that he left New York on the evening of the day of the World Trade Center was February 93. However, his flight was delayed and did not leave until early morning hours of the following day. Yousef stated he took a Pakistani international airline flight from New York to Pakistan. Since returning to Pakistan, Yousef admitted setting up many devices at unknown locations, but stated they were on CNN. Yousef declined to provide locations or specifics about these other bombings. And that's the first time I'm hearing this. These were in Pakistan, or were this in New York? He did state that none of these other bombings were against U.S. interests. They had to be in Pakistan. Yousef would not further discuss the Afghan training camps other than there were about 10 camps and they were now in different locations than what Yousef attended the camps. Yousef stated that during World War II, the U.S. dropped nuclear bombs on Japan to force Japan to surrender. Yousef advised the same logic applies to him, setting off explosive devices at U.S. targets to force the United States to change their policy toward Israel. Yousef stated that this is an extreme approach, but believes it is the only way to force the U.S. to withdraw its support for Israel. Yousef X, Special Agent Garrett, several questions about executions in the United States and asked the length of time before executions are carried out there to receive the death penalty. Yousef stated he believed that he would be executed in the United States. Yousef asked Garrett at the conclusion of the interview what will happen to him at the time, and he was told that he was in the custody of the Pakistani government and would remain in custody. Yousef requested Garrett a suit coat, dress shirt, tie, dress trousers, socks, and dress shoes. Special Agent Garrett advised Yousef that these items of clothing would be provided for him prior to any court appearances and or expenses to the press. At the conclusion of the interview, Pakistani military officials advised Yousef would be incarcerated at a secure location in Islamabad. And as you can see, that the reasoning behind the World Trade Center bombing, the reasoning behind the Bojinka plot, the reasoning behind the landmarks plot, the reasoning behind 9/11, the reasoning behind the embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania are all based on U.S. backing Israel, U.S. foreign policy, or the West's foreign policy. Nothing to do with religion or lack thereof. Now, listen, thank you guys for tuning in. And the next video I make regarding this will be the last video in the Bojinka series. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe and see you in the next video.